All right. Hey, you guys. I am trying something brand new today. I am using a streaming service that is hopefully streaming live to both my YouTube channel and my Facebook page. Um, and I don't know if it's actually working. So give me just a second to check in and see if we're live on Facebook. Oh, it looks like there's a bit of a lag, but that's cool. Um, okay, well, I am just gonna drop it like it's hot, and I'm live, and everything is working. So let's see. I've got my earbuds in. Hopefully, you can hear me loud and clear. Um, I don't know if how to see any kind of chats to see if you guys, in fact, can hear me loud and clear. So, hmm. So, like I said, I'm just going to act in faith that it's all working the way that I think it should be, or the way that it's designed to. So, all right. So, today's topic is the truth about beauty and why we need to know this stuff now. In particular, like now is the time. Let me start with that element of this message. Now is the time because I described it yesterday with someone like we're popping off, right? Our consciousness is rapidly upgrading. Like all the people are being activated to higher levels of consciousness. Those of us in leadership, especially, like the downloads are rapid and but we're buzzing with new understandings and ways of articulating and things of that nature. But it's like we're popping off like popcorn. So where we were these little dense packets of information and energy, those little hard kernels of corn, before they pop into the big white, fluffy, fully expressed and delicious bits of popcorn, like we're popping off like popcorn, you guys, which means we're being activated by life force, energy source, God, the divine, whatever. Like we are being activated to express that which has always been within us. And so now is the time to understand the truth. I'm putting it in the context of beauty here, which I'll put it in multiple contexts over time, but we're starting with beauty for today. But now is the time to understand the truth, to get it, not just intellectually, but wholeheartedly, whole bodily, whole beingly. Not a word, I know, but now is the time to get it so that we can live it and express it in our lives, in our bodies, in our businesses, in our relationships, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. The truth can no longer remain hidden, like comfortably numb and all that. For some of us, and when I say some of us, there's some of us that are like ready to pop off. And so there's just that little bit like, okay, so popcorn, this is my metaphor for today. It's like at some point that kernel goes from being hard and like a little kernel seed closed up, and you heat it up in the microwave or on the stove or whatever. Well, at some point it reaches its breaking point or its pinnacle or whatever you want to say. Maybe you have a better way of describing this than I do, so feel free to put that shit in the comments or the chat. But at some point that little closed up, hard to get into, you know what happens when you bite into one, right? Ow, it's harder, it's almost as hard as your teeth. But that closed up, contained, glorious, delicious, delectable popcorn goes from being that to that. And so it's a point in in this case, it's heat, right? Like but heat is a vibration. So at some point, the heat is the perfect temperature, and then it like pops off. And so that's happening for a lot of us, so many of us. And so that's who I'm talking to here, right? If you're still, if you haven't reached your popping point, then my message is not going to resonate with you. And so that's fine. That's fine. One day it will. But so, yeah, it's time to know the truth of who we are. And in the context of beauty, what I mean by that is beauty is way more than our physical face and body, right? Beauty is actually a gateway to God or the divine, if you prefer that language better. And so what do I mean by that specifically? Well, it's actually something we already know in our hearts. We know the meaning, the true meaning of beauty. We feel it, we experience it, and we experience it through our senses, our physical five senses. Just like we know the true meaning, the experience of love, and we experience that with our heart, or more specifically, you could say your emotions, right? We experience love. We know what that's like. And then we also experience a knowing, right? And knowing is much more than our intellectual accumulation of information or education, right? It's way beyond what we can learn from a book, right? It's the knowing that that I am, for example. I didn't learn that shit in a book, but I know I am, and so do you. So when I talk about beauty, I'm talking about that which already is within us. And so it's hard to, a lot of times, especially in our culture, right? It's real difficult to have this lasting, infinite, eternal experience of beauty, to see ourselves and others and the entire world, no matter what shit show it's got going on at the moment. But, and I say this, let me just put it specifically, like, when we are missing the mark and seeing flaws, for example, when we look in the mirror, or seeing something in someone's behavior that we're like, that's a no-go, right? We're missing the beauty, the perfection, the divinity in ourselves and others, which is okay and totally fucking normal when we have our blinders on and are only seeing sort of this you and me, this dual reality, this inherent separation between you and me. And quite frankly, that stems from the perceived perception. That's not, you know what I'm saying? That I and God, or the divine, are also separate. In other words, we can only see ourselves as separate as long as we're seeing ourselves separate from God. Okay? So circling back to beauty then. Because we see ourselves as separate, physical, limited, finite beings, right? Then when we look in the mirror or we look at one another, it's difficult to see the beauty, and instead we see the flaws because we're looking at ourselves physically, which again, yeah, it makes sense. But if we zoom out, that's because we're physically focused, separation perspective individuals. But if we zoom out, and by the way, zooming out, all we got to do is be still. Sit still. Be quiet. Quiet your mind. Use your breath. Take a few deep breaths. Everybody by now knows how to use their breath to quiet their mind. Being still, being silent, being present is what allows us to zoom out from that very myopic perspective of ourselves and one and each other. Um, so zooming out, we actually see the expansive fullness of beauty, our beauty. We can experience our own beauty regardless of what the body is looking like, y'all. Regardless of what the house is looking like, regardless of what the relationship or the business is looking like. When we zoom out, get still, be silent, we can experience infinite and eternal beauty in that moment. And yeah, it might be a moment, but the more you do it, those moments seem to extend and extend and extend. And then when you open your eyes, like if you were sitting there in meditation, for example, when we open our eyes and come out of that transcendent state where we can see reality, the truth about beauty, about love, about God, when we open our eyes and come back into this physical, finite, seemingly separate world, well, then there may be a lingering effect of what you tuned into in meditation. You can start to see this physical world. Sorry, my eyelashes blocking my view here. We can start to experience this physical world, these physical bodies, with that lingering truth, that infinite beauty. So that when we go to look in the mirror, we actually see beauty, even when there's blemishes or things happening, right? We can see the truth beyond our face and body and the physical evidence that we then previously, in the past, historically, have focused on, the flaws, the things we need to fix about ourselves or fix about a relationship or fix, fuck fixing. There's nothing to fix. There's only reality to be seen in those moments that look like flaws and failures and fuck ups. So the truth about beauty is that it's infinite and eternal and ever present already, here and now, within us. And if we take our attention off of this myopic, physical, finite, seemingly separate from God reality, then we can experience that beauty here and now. And it doesn't just have to be in meditation. In other words, you don't have to meditate for 6 hours a day to feel beautiful and free and fulfilled. It doesn't take long, because what we do in meditation, if we intend to bring it forth into this physical world, what we do in meditation can carry forth with us in our daily lives, the daily doing of life, which includes our relationships, our physical bodies, our health and well-being, our businesses, our bank accounts. All of these necessary aspects of living in this physical world will absolutely be influenced by what we experience in that still, silent state. And it just makes the physical experience, the daily life, the grind, as some people call it. I don't. I call it like the playground. But it can make it that much more fun and fulfilling and joyful. So My hope is that you are popping off like a popcorn kernel for whatever reason. Maybe it's because this message was like that one micro degree more that you needed to remember your truth, your full expression, your fluffy, white, delicious full expression. I love popcorn, by the way. Um, Maybe this video or my page or my channel or my sharing is a catalyst for you. And in that case, hooray! But maybe it's not me, right? Maybe you've got multiple sources that are all contributing just a micro bit of heat to activate your full understanding, your full unconditional love, and your full experience of the truth about your beauty. And if that's the case, also, hooray. I hope this was informative and juicy and delicious for you. And if so, I welcome comments, I welcome questions, and I will see you later. Bye, guys.